So an autistic or ADHD diagnosis isn't what makes you neurodivergent or not. I'm Nikki Butler, also known as the Autistic Joyologist, and I've had so many conversations with women around getting a diagnosis, a formal diagnosis, and the struggles that so many of you are having with that because of long waiting times, and if you're trying to go privately, the cost that's associated with that. Now, I was diagnosed autistic and ADHD in my mid-40s, and I did find it incredibly powerful because it really gave me a reason why my life had been the way that it had and the struggles that it had. It was like validation for, okay, like I wasn't broken, I hadn't done, something terrible, and I could understand how my brain worked. But, and this is a really, really big but, that diagnosis didn't make me neurodivergent. I was already neurodivergent. It was just the confirmation of what I already was. And the reason I want to mention that to you is if you're waiting for a diagnosis or hoping to get a diagnosis and you're left with this feeling of being in limbo or frustration that you just cannot get a diagnosis for 2, 3, 4 years, whatever that wait might be, I'd really like you to think about this. You don't need a diagnosis to start to make some changes. So actually, both my ADHD and autism reports, I got the diagnosis, but there was no help offered. I was recommended to take ADHD medication, have a heart condition, I can't take it. So it felt like, here's your diagnosis, here's your reports, bye-bye. And the reason I'm mentioning that to you and sharing that with you is because diagnosis or not, it's really what you do to make changes to your life or to support yourself that's going to make all the difference. And I spent 6 months post-diagnosis working with coaches, trying tools, trying techniques, doing everything that people said should help me, and it just didn't help me at all. Like I did find some benefit working with a coach initially to help me understand and process what being neurodivergent meant for me, but I never found a way to move my life forward to make the changes that I knew that I needed to make. And that's when I stepped back and looked internally. So I revisited some personal development work that I've done over 10 years ago and drew on my experience of, I was in corporate leadership and management for well over a decade. I've been an entrepreneur for well over a decade and mentored other people. So it was kind of like this culmination of 20 odd years of coaching and guiding other people, plus my personal development work. And I really brought it internally. And where I saw the most benefit was learning to really understand myself. So understanding how my autism and ADHD shows up for me. What are my attributes? What are my challenges, my strengths, the things that I notice I need to make some changes to have a better experience or to connect better with other people. And you can do that work now with or without a diagnosis. If you can really start to reflect and think about the areas that you might like to improve, you might like to feel more calm and more balanced and stop this constant cycle of overwhelm and burnout. And if that's the case, you might need to consider things like putting some boundaries in place, like learning to say no to people so that you can protect your energy. You might look at things like tools that can help you, like ear loops if you struggle with sensory overwhelm, sunglasses or glasses with filters if like bright lights are a problem for you. There are so many different things. That's just a couple of examples. But when you really dig deep and start to understand yourself and look at some of the environments you're in and where you are well supported, so where you perhaps in your home life you might find that you're able to create a safe space with weighted blankets, or you can find time that is quiet for you, you may feel safer, calmer, more balanced in that environment. So for me, coming into my home, I don't have other people in my home because this is my space to be me, to switch off and to relax. I can re-regulate, I can rebalance emotionally and set with my sort of sensory overwhelm in my home. But it might be that you have a work environment that is particularly challenging because it's noisy, like it's a 9 to 5 and you can't focus 9 to 5. You need to think about different ways of working or different accommodations. Like really start to look at the different areas of your life and think what's working for you and what isn't working for you, and then some areas where you can start to make small changes and introduce, you know, new intentions or new habits slowly, because for many of us that thought of big change is really overwhelming. So I don't want you to be overwhelmed, but I really wanted to just have this conversation with you because I'm having people reach out to me so regularly with that kind of upset, frustration and worry that they just can't get a diagnosis. But you can do the work to help yourself now. You don't have to wait for a diagnosis, because they're not going to hand you a to-do list. They're not going to tell you what you need to do to have a calmer, happier, more balanced life where you feel more fulfilled. But you do have the power to start to do that now. If you need any resources or any guidance on this, please feel free to reach out to me. You can pop a comment under the video. You can visit the website, and there are some great mini courses that you can check out. Lots of guidance and tips on the blogs, on social media. But if you do need me to point you in the right direction, please get in touch on the socials, or you can email me hello@autisticjoyologist.co.uk. I will see you very soon.